Okay, I'm going to show you how I process my headshots in Lightroom. The first thing I'm going to do is go through and make my picks. I usually take 2 photos of each athlete, sometimes a couple more, but I'm going to go through and pick the ones that I want to use as headshots. So to start with, I'll double click and zoom in a little bit. And I'm going to use my left and right arrow key to navigate through the images. And I'm going to have one hand on the arrow keys and one hand on the P button. And I'm just going to go back and forth and hit P on the photos that I want as picks. As you can see, I'm just going back and forth between the 2 images of each athlete and finding the best of the 2. Usually I can find a good photo of each person. Alright, there we go. I've picked them all. I'm going to go back into my grid view, and I'm going to click on this filter down here and click that button, and now I'm filtered by pick. So you can see all these have little pick flags on top of them. There's my 8 tennis players. Okay, now we're going to apply keywords to the photos so that I can so I can know who's in the photos and find them easier later. Looking at my sign-in sheet from Photo Day, I can see that one of these 8 players did not put their name on the sheet, and it's one of these top 4 new people. And so I'm going to start down here. And I know that's Derek, and so I'll come over here into keywords and I'll type Derek Lund. As I start typing, you can see it pops up. I'm just going to enter to accept that keyword, and then enter again to apply it. And then I'm going to hit 8 on the 10 key, which will give it a green label. And then I'm going to come down here to filter by unlabeled. And what that's going to do is that's going to hide any photo that has a color label. And this is not terribly helpful in a group this small, but for some of the bigger teams, it helps kind of keep you organized and know where you're at. So I'll keep applying these, and this is Sam, enter twice, and then 8, and you can see he disappears. And this is Blake, enter twice, and 8, and he disappears. And this is Jacob, and enter twice, and he disappears. And so I need to find out who these 4 people are. So I'm going to come over to print, and I'm going to remove my filter, and I'm going to select all, and it's going to show me all my photos. And what I can actually do, depending on the size of the photos, is I can change my grids to make them bigger or smaller, however many I want to fit on a page. And then under page settings, under photo info, I can apply a custom setting, which basically I have set as keywords, and so any photo that has a keyword applied to it, it will show under their name. And then I can print this out, hand it to the coach, and say, who are the missing people. Okay, so now I want to rename the photos. Normally for action shots, I'm not going to rename the photos, but for headshots, I will. So I'm going to select them all, and I'm going to go to Library, Rename Photos, and right by default it's set at keywords for me, but that's because that's the last one I used. Basically, this is similar to the print module, and I'm just going to set up keywords. So any keywords that are listed for that photo, that's what the title will be. And I made sure the only keywords listed for each of those photos is the name. So I'll click OK, and it's going to rename them all. And as I come down here and highlight over these images, you can see right here that they've been renamed. Okay, and then I'm going to go add some more keywords or headshots. So I want to add headshots, and that's rowing. So I want to add rowing. So now I'm all set and ready to process. So let's process these photos. I'm going to start by selecting a photo, and I'm going to hit the R key, and that's going to bring me into the develop module. So I hit R, it's bringing me into the develop module, and it's going to open the crop tool. Our photos on the website are squares for player pages, so I'm going to select the 1:1, and I'm just going to get that photo cropped and positioned the way I'd like it. Okay, and so that's good right there. I'm going to hit done. I shot these with studio lighting, so everything's fairly consistent, and my settings were a little off, so I'm just going to turn down the highlights just a little bit. That's probably a little too much. Okay, and so now to crop and those highlight settings, I want to copy those to all the other photos. So I'm going to hit copy. I'm going to make sure crop is select. process version should always be selected, and if it's not, you'll get this little error. And basic tone, so that's going to copy my highlight settings. So I hit copy, and I'm going to come back over to the library, and I'm going to select these, right click, go to develop settings, and paste settings. And so now it's going to paste those crop settings and those highlight adjustments to all the photos. And you can see the crop settings are not exact because I was not perfect with my photo abilities, but I'll come back in and hit the R key, and I'm just going to adjust those all real quick. And so what I'll do is just set that like I want it. And you can see down here, you kind of want to keep an eye so that those photos and those faces are all similarly proportioned. So if I hit the right or left arrow key, it's just going to move the photo actually. If I hold Control and right arrow key, it's going to go to the next photo. So real quickly, I can set these how I wanted. Some may need to be rotated, some may be zoomed in, zoomed out. But pretty quickly, I can get through these photos, especially on a team this small. And you know, the whole time I'm doing this, I'm kind of keeping an eye on these face sizes. Everyone's got a different size head and different shape face, so it's not going to be perfect. But I want to try and keep them generally the same proportions, so that face is generally in the same spot for each photo. And it's, like I said, it's different for each person. Some people have you know, taller foreheads, some people have bigger hair, and usually I kind of am looking at this whole face area to get those consistent. And you can say, well, I'm just going to make sure their eyes are on that grid, but it doesn't work every time because people are different. And so there we go. So those are done. I'm all cropped. I'm ready to go. And now we can export these into to be used for the web. So I'm going to select all. I'm going to hit export. I have Presto Mugs. It's a preset I've already configured. Once you set everything you want, you can just add your own presets. And so by default, it's going to go on the desktop in the subfolder, and I'm going to call this rowing. And you can see, scroll down, I'm resizing the short edge to be 320. And actually, short edge, long edge, it really doesn't matter because they're square. So 320 is the size of the photos on the website for us. And so I'll just click export. And they're actually already there, so I won't do this again. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is create some virtual copies. On our website, we're new to Presto this year, and formerly our story pictures were square, and so we used to be able to just dump a mugshot into that story, and it would be fine. Now our story images are more horizontal, and that won't work. So we want images that we can dump in there if we need. So you may have noticed at the beginning that I took the headshots this year. I took them in a horizontal way, so we could do exactly that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select everything. I'm going to come up to Photo and create Virtual Copy, and then I'm going to hit 7 on the 10 key, which is going to label all those ones I just created yellow. So now I've got yellow and green. The greens are already done. I'm going to filter by yellow. The yellows are the ones I want to make into horizontal. So I'm going to select the photo, come into the crop module again, and I'm going to change my aspect ratio to 2:1. And so here we go, and we're just going to set these how I want it. I usually want, with this grid line, I usually want basically between the eyes is where I've been trying to aim. But again, it's different for every person. It may not be exactly. So I'm going to get that set. That's good. And I want to copy those to all these other ones. So I'm going to hit copy again. I can uncheck basic tone because we've already applied that. We just want to apply the crop. So copy. Come back into library. Select these. Right click. And paste settings. And so now all those settings will apply. And so we need to go in the same way we did with the square crops, is we need to adjust them to make sure that they are in the right place. And again, I'm using Control and the arrow key to go between photos, and it will keep the crop dialog open, and so I can do this pretty quickly. And again, the same thing, I'm trying to keep the faces generally the same proportion. As I'm looking along the bottom here, keeping an eye on them, making sure nothing looks completely abnormal. For these ones, it actually doesn't matter as much because they will almost never be seen next to each other. But it's a possibility that they may be, and so we want to make sure that that they all look pretty similar. So super, and so that's done. And so the last thing that I actually want to do is I want to come back into my library and view all my photos again, and I want to make sure that these coaches are actually tagged as coaches. I forgot to do that earlier, so I'm going to tag those coach. So they are tagged. So now I exported the photos already for the web. So now what I want to do is export them so that they're in a place where we can get to them. So I use publish services for that, and this is on a network drive where we have all our photos and people can access them. So I've got my rowing folder in 2015-16. I'm going to right click on that, and I'm going to create a smart folder. And this is actually going to be pre-populated because this is the last smart folder I created was with these same settings. So I'm going to give it a name. Our default name is a date. Since they're headshots, a date doesn't really matter, so it's just going to be 0. And then we're going to sport code, then a title. And let's call these yellow, so horizontals. And basically, these are the photos I want. I want any photos that are flagged as a pic, have the label color yellow, were captured on this particular date, and contain the keyword rowing. And actually, this should be headshot. If I create that, you'll see now right here that I've got all these. And I'm going to create another smart folder. Same thing, only this one is going to be for the squares. Call it row headshots. And change this yellow to green. And now I should have all my green ones. There they are. And so now when I click publish, it's just going to publish these two collections out to that network drive. And so now we have full-size versions of all these headshots if we need them. I've exported the smaller version specifically for the web. And at any point, if one of these photos, if I made a mistake or I need to change a label or a spelling or something like that, I can go and do that, and I can just come back into these directories, and it will tell me that there is a photo that needs to be a new photo that needs to be published, or a modified photo that needs to be republished, and I can just click publish, and they'll go back out to the drive. So that's how I use Lightroom for processing our headshots.